The advice I give to people trying to apply to say the first part of your essay is not to start writing, it's to start thinking. Pantaleon had a friend, big shout out to Daniel. Really, I wouldn't go to HBS without him. Who was in Uganda at the time doing his internship. So Leon invited him over with barbecue thingy, and I showed him my essay, and he looked at my essay, read it, and it's like, your essay is good, but not memorable. I wanted to, in my heart, I wanted to beat him up.
Welcome to a special production of the Business 101 podcast. I am your host, Ayo. Oye. This is a limited series, specifically sharing stories and experiences from some of the world's most selective, most prestigious business schools from the lens of recent international graduates. Today, I have the immense honor of welcoming a special guest from a business school that needs no introduction. Ranked consistently as one of the most prestigious business schools in North America and the world, Harvard Business School at Harvard College. My guest today is Demilade Oresanya, a proud Nigerian business strategist and incoming associate at the world's most prestigious consulting firm, McKinsey and Company's Toronto office. He is a class of 2025 graduate from Harvard Business School, where he also served as co-president of the Africa Business Club and worked to connect African companies with world-class talent. Before HBS, Demilade spent close to a decade in sales, marketing, and strategy roles across Africa with prestigious companies like ENGIE, Unilever, Total, and Diageo. He holds a bachelor's degree in mass communication from the University of Lagos and a professional marketing diploma from the UK's Chartered Institute of Marketing. He is passionate about unlocking Africa's full potential through bold, business-led solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Demilade. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Demilade. It's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, my Oga and friend. You said I should show up, and I had to show up. I did not have a choice.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. I mean, if I want to keep reading your profile, you could keep going for like 10, 20 minutes, right? But I want to give you an opportunity to like talk a bit about not just your profile, but more like the journey, right? So pre-MBA, what were you into? What kind of work, what kind of roles did you work in? And then essentially, how did you get to the point when you're like, an MBA won't be back?
Then, I think you already said everything reading the profile. Oh, is that me? Is this my profile you're still reading? Why is it that long?
I'm sure we could keep going.
So before MBA, I was working in marketing, sales and marketing, predominantly more towards marketing, in Nigeria and a couple other African countries. I did mostly CPG marketing, managed some of your favorite brands from Guinness to Mentos to Chupa Chups, across multinational firms. It was good experience. I enjoyed what I was doing. I loved what I was doing. I liked the exposure it gave me, especially when I then moved to live and work out of Uganda and manage marketing across 9 markets in Africa. At some point, I wanted something I wanted to learn more about other industries. That wasn't just from not from a marketing lens. I mean, I'd done alcohol, I'd done energy, I'd done renewable energy, I'd done confectionery. But in the end, they were still mostly CPG and energy companies, but I wanted to understand how other functions work. Even though I had indirect and in some cases, to be honest, direct interactions with those other functions within these businesses, but it was not something that I understood as much as the people that were doing them. So for me, that was one reason why I decided, okay, I think I want an MBA. I think the second thing, of course, is also because I wanted to move to North America. I wanted to move to Canada so I have the Canadian permanent residency, and I was okay. I also wanted to set myself up for success career-wise. How do I ensure that I'm landing on my 2 feet when I get here? Thought, okay, an MBA also allows me, especially the top North American MBA program, gives me that edge that would ensure that combined with my experience from the continent would ensure that I'm landing on my 2 feet whenever I decided to come here.
Interesting. I mean, most people find themselves choosing between a US or an European business school, right? And maybe Canada. I'm going to group those together as North America. It looks like you didn't have that trouble at all. It was easy to just decide, okay, it's going to be North America, and particularly the US. Was there a reason why you didn't say Canada, for example, or like why you didn't choose between European and American business schools?
So it wasn't that as easy as that, to be honest. I also had an European MBA that I had my eyes on. I was thinking of INSEAD for the longest.
Yeah,
Again, I'm a marketing person and I loved INSEAD's marketing. I loved their tagline, the business
yeah,
school for the world. It
one of
had
the
me
best. Yeah,
sold.
yeah.
So that line had me sold
Yeah,
from the
you,
get-go.
yeah, yeah. Was one of the only two European schools I applied to too.
Yeah. But I remember speaking to one of my friends, who you know, Pantalia, who
Okay.
also just finished from London Business School. And we're both thinking about the MBA at the same time. We're both living in Uganda at the same time. We both worked together at Diageo and then worked again at another company in Uganda where he had moved. And it was like, where are you rushing to? Why do you want to do a 1 year program? What's the hurry? And I'm like, okay, actually, that makes sense. Also, I've been working non-stop for about almost a decade. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe 1 year is not enough break. Maybe 2 years is better. I think the second reason also was European MBAs are not as valued in North America as a North American MBA. So I was like, okay, it was going to be a North American one. And I actually did consider Canada as well. I actually even got admission to the Rothman MBA program. That's the University of
Wow.
Toronto.
Yeah.
But when the Harvard Business School says you should come, you go.
Pack your stuff and you go.
Exactly. So that's it.
And I mean, before applying to Harvard, I mean, I'm pretty sure once you got into Harvard, everyone was like, okay, that's a good idea. You have to go to Harvard. But before you actually applied, once you started thinking, okay, I'm going to get an MBA, and you spoke to, say, family, friends, what was the general feeling? Did people get it? Because I remember for myself, I had just moved to the UK for like 2 years when I decided to go get an MBA. And when I was speaking to my family, my mom, I don't think anyone got it for the most time, for the most part, because everyone was like, "What are you looking for again? This guy, can you just like settle here, just build a life?" Did you have that kind of experience? Or was it like, "Oh, you want to get an MBA? Go get it." Like, what was the general reception?
I found the reception was much better than you had it.
Okay.
Thankfully, I had a couple of friends who had done MBAs and who were planning to, so it was easy at least with my friends and with my family as well. Well, I just informed them. It was more like I'm doing this.
Mm.
I think they had learned to trust my judgment. Or maybe they had given up on me that I will do whatever I want to do anyways. It's
Whatever he
one of the
wants to
two.
do.
I think it's the latter.
Yeah, one of
I
one
think
of
they're
the
like,
probably the latter.
yeah, I think they're just like, is Kuku going to do what he wants to do? So, okay.
There's no point in talking
There's no
about
point
it.
in,
Yeah,
yeah. So for me, I think that was it. So it was pretty easy.
interesting. Personally, was there a moment where you almost didn't go. Like personally, I know after I got admitted, even after I got my visa to go to come to the US and go to Duke, there were many times where I was like, am I making a mistake? Right. For me, I had 2 years left from getting like the from qualifying for the UK permanent residency. And it felt like throwing everything away, working in a very great job, living in a good country, on the path to citizenship in a first world country. It just sounded like you're throwing everything away to go to the US where you have no idea what's going to happen, whether you're going to get a job. Many moments where I'm almost capable. Did you have any moments like that?
No, sincerely, no. I think maybe what helped was also that the first time I tried applying to business school, I didn't get interviews at all. My very first attempt was the year before I eventually went to school, or 2 years rather.
Interesting. Let's
And
talk
so I
about
think
that.
I think I used that time to actually then think about it well to say, okay, is this what I really want to do? And I was
Mm,
at that point where I knew that if I stayed back in Uganda, my career would be fine, but I would be
yeah,
stuck in a sense in marketing. And I loved marketing. I still love marketing. I probably will still come back to it at some point. But I just felt like I wanted to do something different. And so for me, I was ready. As soon as I said admitted visa, I'm like, okay, when does school
let's
start?
go. Interesting. Let's talk a bit about the first year you applied. It was obviously not because you weren't qualified, because the next year you got admitted to Harvard Business School, right? So nothing significantly changed in that 1 year period. What do you think was responsible for not getting any interviews the year before?
Oh, I know the two things that were
Okay,
responsible.
perfect.
Having gone through the process and succeeded, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I know at least two of the things. I think the
Okay.
first was, I mean, my GRE score. So I did the GRE. My first GRE score was not great.
Okay.
I remember correctly, it was like 315. I also, when I
Hmm.
was also applying, I knew it was low. But I'm like, you know what? Try your
Let's
luck.
see what happens.
Let's see
Yeah.
what happens because you never can tell. And I think the second one was the essays I wrote. And a couple of weeks back, I went back and I was reading those essays. I'm like, of course, nobody will give you an
Of
interview.
course, they didn't admit me.
Yeah, so I think those were the two things that I then had to work on a lot. I had to then go back to the drawing board to study properly for the GRE that was sorted. And for essays, I started writing my essays way earlier, started editing. I remember what someone told me, and it's also the advice I give to people trying to apply to say the first part of your essay is not to start writing, it's to start thinking. You just think about your life story and so I did that a lot. I'll just take note of things I want to say. I got my friends to review, people that knew me. Before I even got people that were in the MBA process or people that understood the MBA process. I'm like, okay, you review for story, not for whether it's sellable, but like based on what you know about me. Do you think
Does
there are
this align?
stories I should be highlighting that I'm not highlighting? Do you think that there are stories I've highlighted that you don't think are as serious as I think it is? And that really helped. I remember I was in Uganda, I just moved. No, I had not even moved to Uganda. I was going to move to Uganda, so the office was like, okay, go to Uganda for a week and to be sure that you like it. Okay, that's fine. I went there. This is my friend Pantaleon. I had a friend who was Daniel. Big shout out to Daniel. Really, I wouldn't go to HBS without him. Who then who was in Uganda at the time doing his internship. So Leon invited him over with barbecue thingy, and I showed him my essay, and he looked at my essay, read it, and it's like, your essay is good but not memorable. I wanted to in my heart, I wanted to beat him up.
Wow.
I
You're
I'm
like,
like, what do like
I've been
me?
working at this for weeks. What do you mean?
I spent months ready. You now tell who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are?
What the hell? It's like yeah, it's not memorable. It's like every other essay. I won't remember it. It's a good essay, but like a lot of
That's
people will
good
say this
feedback.
same thing. And I was like, I feel
Yeah.
like there's something to your story that you are deciding not to get into. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling there's something I think you should unlock it. And I knew what he was talking about because it was actually a part of my story I didn't want to tell because I wanted it to be as private as possible.
Very
I
personal.
also
Yeah.
didn't want to commercialize it because it was some sort of tragedy, and I do not subscribe to commercializing tragedy. Eventually, I had to bring it in, but from a different perspective, not from a commercialization of tragedy point of view, more like what gave me impetus to do a lot of the things I've done. And then when I sent him back the advice, he said, "Hey, now you're talking."
This is it.
Then I did not want
Now
to
I will
beat him
remember
again.
you.
Yeah, so, but I remember that day was eating chicken, reading my essay and said it's not memorable. I'm like, ha.
That must have been tragic for you to remember exactly what it was doing.
I remember, but yeah, it was really helpful, and it was strange because when he got back to school, I would message him. He may not respond that day. He will respond the next day, and I got into the program and I saw how intense it was, and I'm like, this man was actually giving his
Making
time.
sacrifices. Wow.
Like yeah, so Daniel knows. Big shout out to him. Without Daniel,
Big shout out. Did he go to Harvard?
yes, he finished from Harvard.
Okay.
And
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Wow. Interesting. And I like that you got into one, the amount of introspection, but also the amount of vulnerability that's involved in writing a good essay, that's involved in easing the MBA process. Because I mean, a lot of people one don't want to tell people that they're applying, or like you said, have tragic stories that people just want to keep private. Harvard, particularly, I've heard is very notorious for wanting to hear the darker side. It's not so much of, I think Harvard, and you can correct me now that I hear here, I think Harvard believes in the fact that a lot of people are great business people, a lot of people have good profiles, right? And I feel like they care more about the person more than like the skills or whatever that you have. Like they want to get to know you on a personal level, and that's something that a lot of people can struggle with opening up to. Have you found that being true for other people that went to Harvard?
I think so. And I think if you look at the three things Harvard says they look out for, I don't know if it's changed now because a number of things have changed in the
Okay.
admission process in the past year. But I know that at the time there are three things that they will tell you they are looking out for. The first, academic proficiency, which you show through your what's it called, standardized
GRE
exam
score,
scores.
transcripts, yeah.
Second is leadership, and the third is active community citizenship. Most correctly, I think those are the three things. And when you move to leadership and active community citizenship, it's not just, oh, I was a manager, I did this. It's
Hmm.
more what drove those things. And if you tie it back as well to what Harvard say, the Harvard Business School's mission is, to educate leaders who will make a difference in the world. So they want you to talk about the difference you've made, but much more than that, why. It's more the why
Hmm.
than even the what.
Yeah.
And so I think I would agree with. I won't say the dark side, but I would say they want to get to know you personally.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, let's zoom a bit now into kind of the application process and the experience generally, right? First, can you give like an unfiltered look into what the application process was like, right? So you did mention that you had initially wrote GRE the year before, and then you had to rewrite it the next year. Like, how crazy was that writing, preparing for the GRE or the GMAT while studying? I mean, while working full time? Any issues with visa? More from an international perspective. What are the what does the experience look like?
I mean, prepping for GRE while working, I think the fact that I wrote the first one made the prep for the second. Actually, I wrote it three times. For the second and third one easier.
Okay.
The first one made me realize what my strengths were and what my weakness was. I mean, it's not like it made me realize, it reiterated it. I'd always known I'm not the most comfortable with numbers, but I knew that there's no way I'm failing an English exam in this world. It's not happened
Same
before.
with
It's
me.
not going to
Same.
happen. And so like I would always ace an English exam. And so I knew that okay, it was the quant I needed to focus on. I got a tutor, the tutor that will come teach me. I will focus on specific topics. I had problem sets and whatnot. I wrote the second one, it was better. Some people felt that it was good enough. I'm like, no, no, I want to push again. Just let me, I mean, I still have the time, and then I wrote the third one. So I think in terms of working, it's just like balancing my schedules. I did the tutoring on weekends, and then I spent my days after work studying on my own. And then Saturday, Sunday, my tutor would come around. That was that. And there was a second leg to the question that I've forgotten.
Yeah. So visa, was there any issues with like getting visas and things like that?
No, for me, there was no issue. I also think that, and this might sound very, very arrogant, but I think that it's rare for someone going into the Harvard Business School to have visa issues. At
Okay.
least back in the day.
Why'd you say that?
I don't know. I think so. So why do I say back in the day? So two things. Now we all know what's happening.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a different
Yeah.
conversation. But back in the day, the school's name speaks for itself.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so you get there, and even when you now have like good scholarship as well, which I got a pretty good chunk. It also
Harvard is
makes the
also
con.
known for good funding, right?
Yeah, it's good funding. It's need-based financial aid. So it's based on what you've earned over the last couple of years, and then they do the math and they tell you. So I haven't worked mostly in Nigeria. They're just like, oh, you are poor, take money. So the conversation was easy. I remember I did my visa interview in Uganda because I was living in Uganda at the time, and all the conversation was not up to a minute, and I'm not exaggerating. It was pretty straightforward. But again, I also remember that I have a friend who at the time we had similar financial aid coming
Ouch.
to HBS as
Hmm.
well. His first visa interview got denied, and when he reached out to the school were like they don't understand how. Like, and then he went back again. Nothing changed in the situation,
Hmm.
and he got the visa. So maybe the visa officer at the time,
Just had
on
a
the first
bad
day,
day or something.
I had a bad day, woke up on the wrong side of the
Or they try
bed.
or they try to get into Harvard and didn't. So they're like, nobody's gonna go to Harvard.
Maybe, yeah. But like I think with Harvard, you most likely won't have, at least back in the day, the school's name
Hmm.
speaks for itself. And I think for a lot of top business schools, I think the challenge with visas mostly is when they feel you're taking on too when they feel like the loan burden you're taking on is a bit too much, and they're worried that you won't want to come back. But it's also very interesting. I find that interesting because a lot of people that go for MBAs don't come back, and they know that a lot of people that go for MBAs don't come back, not because they stay as illegals, but because they are high value talent, and
Yeah.
American companies also want to keep
Who want
them.
to keep them.
So it's always
Yeah. And they have
interesting
to
when
pay off the loans, right?
yes, and it's always interesting when you're having a visa interview and they're telling you show me that you're coming back. And okay, we
Yeah.
are coming
Okay.
back,
While we
but
doing this
we
dance, like
both
we
know
both
that
know,
if I
like
get an
while we doing this
opportunity to
dance,
stay back,
mm,
I will legally.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
chances that I will is high because hey, it's an
Yeah,
MBA from a
exactly.
top school. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I like that honest look. And two things that you said that I really like was one, the issue, well, not the issue, but like the potential struggles with writing the GRE, the GMAT. I wrote GRE 3 times
my
over
brother.
like a
So that's how we're
yeah, yeah.
friends.
I like one thing I actually didn't mention is that Demilade and I are going to the exact same firm. I'm going to be working in Dallas office and he's going to the Toronto office.
You also didn't
And we
mention that we
actually
were
met
prepping together for
exactly. We
interviews.
actually met during preparation for McKinsey interviews. So yeah, it looks like we have a couple of things in common. But he also wrote the jury 3 times. It's very unusual to find people who write it once and they have like a score that is great enough to get into like a really good school. Obviously, they're like geniuses in the world. So that's happening. Another thing that we have in common is the fact that also I'm not very strong in quant, but I've never failed an English exam and I've never studied for an English exam, including the IELTS, TOEFL, all of that. Never studied for any of those. I just believe I can never fail English. But you see the quant, yeah, I need tutoring on that. And I wanted to use this opportunity to mention a free resource. This is not paid advert, but one resource that I found really good when I was studying for the GRE was it's actually a free resource on YouTube. It's this channel called The Tested Tutor, and the guy is like amazing. It's free, but that guy is amazing. So if you're struggling with quant, probably check him out. Um, but yes, as we continue the conversation, Demilade, one thing that a lot of people have experienced, myself included, is when you're applying to schools, especially if you have a great profile, most schools like are trying to court you. People are exceptionally nice. Current students are like, they're being supportive and things like that. And then when you get on campus, it's not every time that the experience on campus is the same as, when you're applying. Did you find that to be true for Harvard? What was the experience like when you were applying and then once you had gotten on campus?
When I was applying, it was great. Shout out to, of course, my first HBS family, the Africa Business Club, the best ever club in the world.
Wow.
The best ever
That's a bold
Africa Business
statement.
Club in the world. I said what I said.
That's a bold statement.
It is a true statement.
Shout out to the Business in Africa Club at Duke University.
Yeah. And I say this because yeah, after my interview after I applied to HBS, I got interviewed and I got waitlisted. And so the way I used to do, again, I'm saying used to because I'm not sure. I know they've been changes, but I've not checked when you're not applying, you don't check that what's the
Yeah,
new
you don't,
process.
yeah.
And so Harvard would say, okay, because it was round one. And at that time, I was doing something very crazy. I only applied to Harvard in round one. I didn't apply to any other schools because I was like, I want Harvard. And then when you get waitlisted, they give you an opportunity to write an update essay that talks about what has changed in your situation between when you
Yeah.
interviewed and so the interview was like in October, November, decision was early December, and then your update essay is due like middle of Jan, and then you
Okay.
hear back end of March with round two, folks. And I reach out to Daniel, and Daniel's like, oh, okay, I know someone who experienced this, so he linked me with someone called Zaki. And when I spoke to Zaki was like, oh, I didn't experience it. Actually, mine was I was waitlisted before interview. So he didn't get the
Okay.
interview. He was waitlisted. And so his own process was different. But it's like,
Very
okay, I
different,
think I
yeah.
know someone. Then he linked me with Godwin, who had my exact situation. So he shared with me his
Okay.
update essay. Batch friends that had the same scenario shared with me their essays. And so without those three people, again, Daniel, Zaki, Godwin, I wouldn't have gone to HBS. So for me, I think the ABC folks, I know this is for internationals, but the Africa Business Club folks were amazing. And getting on campus as well, I think ABC was the first home for me. They were helpful all through the first year. And I say all through the first year because in the second year was our turn to be helpful.
Exactly.
So that's all through the first year, you would go ask them questions. They would do tutoring event. There was always free food at ABC event as well. If there's one thing you should know about grad school is free food is take advantage of every time there's free food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if there's an ABC event, you're pretty sure there will be free food. And
There'll
so
be some
I
food.
would say that with ABC, the support extended throughout. I don't know about other communities because I was not actively part of it. The other community I was also a part of was the ASU community, the African American Student Union. Amazing, amazing, amazing community as well. I think at some point I think we were spoiled for choice on where should we get support from because ASU is giving you, APC is giving you, and you're like, okay,
Mm.
you people are choking me with all this support. I love it.
Support. Give me some space first.
Yeah, so it was amazing, and because also ABC and ASO have like close working relationship, at times they also did things together. So I think that for me, I did not experience it. ASO and ABC were amazing communities in the time I was there, and they still are. They will always be.
Interesting. Good to know you had a wonderful pre and post experience. One thing you haven't mentioned, I kind of mentioned it at the top, but I want you to speak a bit more. I know you're humble, is the fact that in the second year you were co-president of the ABC at HBS, which the ABC organizes, I believe, the world's largest business school hosted Africa conference. Am I
The
saying it
world's
right?
largest student-run conference focused on Africa. That's how we like to say it.
Exactly. Talk about being the journey to being co-president and then organizing this insane conference that I was privileged to be a part of.
I mean, we do a lot more than just the conference, first of all. And now I'm no longer co-president of ABC. So I feel like Jotin and Isham should be paying me for this PR work I'm doing. But I mean, when you said the journey to being co-president, I don't know if there was a journey. I was just a member of the club.
Okay.
It was our club. I participated. I ran for
Didn't you have
elections.
to contest with other people? Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
but
Wasn't
the
there
people
like,
I contested against were my friends as
okay.
well. And
Okay. So nothing crazy.
we all knew that any one of us could run the club. So
Could win. Okay.
so they were my friends, like Judges
Okay.
and Osman, my friends.
Okay.
When we won, they still served on our cabinet. So it was not like a tumultuous journey to presidency.
It's not Africa. It's not African
No, 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 no. So they were
like
my friends.
Nigeria's.
No,
Yeah.
not they were my friends. Sorry, they are my friends. They were and they are still my friends. I was just speaking to Judges 2 days ago. Like, so when there was no journey, it was like, okay,
Okay.
let people choose, but whichever team wins will run this club
We work
well.
together.
And
That's great.
there was no doubt about that. In terms of the conference, I mean, like I said, we do a lot more than conference. We did a lot of things. I think in my year, I mean, of course, shout out to the best co-president ever to ever co-president, my boss Amanda. One of the things started is we started like this independent project thingy where ABC students were consulting for free for businesses on the continent. So small and medium enterprises on the continent, if you have a problem you're trying to figure out, we had like this program led by our VP for Continental Focus Project, Dominic Mensah, and link you with actual ABC HBS students. And they will work with you to think through your problem for free. All we ask for is that you actually have a business. That's all.
Right.
So that you are not wasting the time because it's students' time. They're
Yeah.
putting in their
Yeah.
time, and please make it worth their time in the sense that you
Exactly.
actually have a business, not like you're
Yeah. Yeah.
still ideating. We have nothing against you still ideating, but like
Ideations and no businesses
we want people to work on things that are on ground, and people did
tangible.
enjoy it. Businesses gain from that. That was one of the things we started. The conference is big. It's been when we hosted the conference earlier this year in February. That was the 27th edition of the conference. Every year we have 1,100 participants, and the conference grows bigger and bigger every year.
11.
It's a lot of work, but again, like I used to say, my job and Amanda's job as co-president was to say, "Oh, this works, this doesn't work." We had like an entire team of 18 cabinet members that were amazing. For the conference, we had 4 conference co-chairs. We had over 50 members of the club rather, that volunteered to put it together. It's so when you see the production of the conference, it's a lot of hard work of almost everybody in the club. And I say
Yeah.
almost because some people will not be actively involved in conference because they're also bogged
Yeah.
down with other things for the club as well. So it's the work of everyone. So shout out to all our 18 cabinet members, club members, but it's amazing. And for us
Yeah.
as a club, the idea of the conference is to actually surface conversations about the growth of Africa. We think that business should be a tool for growth in on the
Yeah.
continent, and then we bring in business leaders, primarily a couple of maybe political leaders as well, to just even talk about where what is the landscape of business in Africa today vis-a-vis the world. And this year's conference was around the theme was Beyond Borders, Myth or a Mandate for Africa's Progress, trying to see that, okay, is there a world where for Africa to progress, I mean, how do we think about borders, both physical borders, mental borders? Like, how do we think about it? Do we keep the existing borders? For nobody is trying to do country M&A, but when we say borders,
Yeah.
like in terms of trade, more
Yeah.
like,
So yeah.
so it was quite an interesting conversation, and of course, we always end with a party. Um,
Yeah. Interesting. If you're not already sold on Harvard, if you didn't think Harvard was insane already, there you go. I personally attended the ABC this year, January, yes, and it was amazing. I'm just gonna say it was amazing. The conference was insane. There were business leaders, choice business leaders from Africa, young people who had done amazing stuff. Also, older people in politics, like Godwin Obaseki, I believe, was there, an ex-governor in Nigeria. I believe that's his name.
yeah.
And then Ghana's former vice president was there. So it's like the whole shabam, right? You have politics, leaders in politics and business, in academics. It was just insane. If you find yourself in business school, if you're in business school right now, it doesn't matter what business school you go to. You can make it to ABC next year.
Now, if you're
You
thinking
should.
of going to business school, you
If you're
should go.
thinking of going to business school, actually, yeah, because during that period, I met a couple of people who were doing tours, right? Who were doing HBS tours, and
Yes.
that's also a good opportunity to see
Yeah.
HBS campus and
Because
and
as
and
pa-
get to
because as
experience
part
that.
of as part of the conference as well, we also do prospective student programming as well for people who
Yeah,
are thinking of business school and trying to decide what school to go to. Again, if you are looking for the best African community in any business school, there's only one school.
you guys already know how I feel about this statement. I don't agree, but I'll let you have it. I'll allow it.
I mean, we lead, others follow. We are happy
That's
to.
what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they say. Harvard needs to pay me for this free advert, right?
I
But
mean,
yeah.
ABC needs to pay me for this.
Fair, 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 fair. We both need to get paid. Okay, that's amazing. Now I want to talk a bit more about something that I know a lot of international students struggle with, which is the fact that essentially when we're choosing business schools, we have to choose on, I mean, you have to choose based on, I don't know, metrics like ranking and maybe the amount of funding you get. That's mostly like the two most important considerations that international students have. Whereas domestic students are able to like conduct campus visits, go in person, experience a day in the life, try to see if the community is a great fit for them, if the location is a great fit for them, things like that, right? What was your experience like? Let's talk about some of the less tangible aspects. So, where was your business school located? Did you like the city? And then once you had gotten there, what was your experience like?
Okay, Harvard Business School is in Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Did I like the city? I was okay with it. I also did a terrible job of exploring. I didn't explore this city as much as I should, and that's totally on me. But even the few times I explored, I actually loved the city. In terms of what my experience was when I got there, in relation to what is this?
Say again? Yeah, yeah. So in relation to one, the kind of activities that you got up to, I mean, you didn't get to experience life outside of HBS or outside of the HBS bubble. Relation to Harvard College, every other thing that was happening in Boston, Massachusetts at the same time. Like, did you feel like you were a part of the city? Did you enjoy the vibe of the city? Was the weather a good fit for you? Just the non-tangible things that impact on how people enjoy business.
Yeah, I think for HBS, at least from my perspective, HBS is in Cambridge, and a lot of schools in Massachusetts, Boston-ish, are in Cambridge. So MIT is a
Mm,
6 minutes drive.
yeah,
Tufts is not far. Boston Uni is not far. So it's like you are when you're in Cambridge, you are in like the student area, and there's a bevy of activities.
yeah,
For instance, from the business school, the Harvard Square, where you also have the Harvard College is not far. You have a lot of restaurants, a lot of things you need to do. I was 10 minutes walk from a lot of things I needed. So I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't explore the city as much. because I was
Okay.
not far from a lot of things I needed. In terms of the weather,
I intentionally asked that because keep going.
it's cold, but
Super.
Boston is cold. It's almost as cold as Toronto.
Yeah. One of the coolest places in the US, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty cold, and but you get used to it. Also, I had a cheat code. I was staying in the dorms, and because I stayed in the dorms, it meant that the way the school was built means the dorms have like a tunnel that link class. So when it's cold and I want to go to class, I do not need to go outside. I can just use the tunnel and get to class. So that was a cheat code of some sort, but it was cold. But I mean, if you're also going to stay in the US long term and you're not going to be in the West Coast or go to Texas or Florida, you might just
Yeah.
start getting used to the cold early.
I guess
I
so.
knew I
Yeah.
also knew
Yeah.
I was coming to Canada after, so
Okay.
yeah,
It
so
was
I'm
a
coming to
necessary
yes, like
preparation.
I
Yeah.
needed to prepare and get used to it because Canada is colder. I mean, Toronto is similar Boston to similar weather to Boston, but slightly colder. So, but yeah, you will get used to it. Well, I hope you get used to it. I have a friend who has not gotten used to it till now.
Mhm.
He's always wearing his thermal wear. It doesn't go out when
Yeah.
it's cold. But yeah, but you will survive. You won't die. At least that you
You
won't
will
die.
not die. Yeah.
You'll just
Yeah.
feel cold and you'll get used to it at some point, or you'll find a way to cope.
That works. That works. I forgot to do this earlier. I wanted to shout out to Amanda. Met her. That's Demilade school president. Met her when I went for the ABC conference. She's amazing. I'm just gonna say that she's amazing. The second thing I wanted to say, one thing I found amazing about, or I guess interesting about Harvard was it was one of the only business schools. I think I might be wrong, but I think it's one of the only business schools that has students living right on campus. And I think at Harvard you actually live. I don't even say on campus, like you live below your classrooms in the same building, and that was surprising for me because at Duke we live kind of off campus and you have to drive like 5 minutes. And I feel like because of how cold Boston is, that was actually very ingenious and probably made the experience better that you guys didn't have to experience the breeze, especially in the winter months and things like that.
Yeah, you're like if I mean most people stay on campus, whether you're in the dorms or in the apartment buildings, and you're like 5 minutes walk from 5 to 7 minutes walk from class max, I think. So it was good. I agree. Especially so also for international students when you're another thing to note is for internationals, you're not in the country, you need to get an
Yeah.
apartment. An apartment hunt
Yeah.
is a lot of work. You don't have
Hmm.
SSN, you do not have credit history. Landlords are asking you to pay like 3 months, 4 months because you don't have all of these things. But if you get like school accommodation, it takes away all of that stress. So for me, it did take. I remember there was time I'd gotten I was in an apartment and I got in this apartment away from school and I checked the distance. I'd even paid. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I can't remember who I was speaking to. And I told them the place and they just started laughing. They're like, it's like you want to, you're
You're
just going
gonna
to be
suffer
stressed. You will suffer. And then I canceled it and collected my deposit and I got to Boston. And when I
and it makes
finally
sense what they said.
realized where the place
Hmm.
was, I was grateful.
Yeah. I was gonna suffer.
I was the suffering not gonna be here. Yeah. So I was super grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm intentionally asking this experiential questions because, you know, as great as it is to be able to visit campus in person before you commit and maybe go for the ABC conference and experience what HBS is like, a lot of internationals don't have that luxury. Just wanted them to have as much context um, as to what to expect, as to what to expect on campus when they get there. So thank you so much for sharing. So one of the myths that people say about the MBA is that it's a 2 year vacation. What do you say to that?
It can be,
Okay.
but for international students, it's not a 2 year vacation. You can experience some vacation as part of the program. I mean, I know that people in other Harvard schools used to say that you business school students, you are here to travel and then do
Yeah.
a little side
Party.
class is your side also. Traveling and
Exactly.
parties, yeah, it can be, but it's not going to. I mean, you can experience. I had friends that traveled a lot. I had friends that didn't travel as much. I had friends that went to every party. I had friends that didn't go to any. You make of it what you will. But why I said that for international students, it can be a 2 year vacation is because, hey, especially if you intend to stay back, you need to start recruiting as soon as possible because especially with this job market, but also have fun. You will not have much free time again in your life. And I say free time because you're like, but it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. But in the end, you are not working. You just need to know what you need to do to pass,
Yeah.
and then you can do other things. You should not just face school and whatnot. I didn't do a lot of socializing or social activities. I did some, but also for me, it was more because I was two things. First, I do not like social activities too much. I get overwhelmed a lot easily. But second thing is also I'm broke, so I needed to manage. I needed
You
to
are
manage
a lot of things. Demilade, you are a lot of things. Broke is not one of them. We both know that.
and you have to manage finances because these things are expensive. Like travels are
Yes.
expensive, the treks are expensive. They are beautiful
Yeah.
experiences, but you also need to pick the ones that you can afford. You don't
Yes.
want to also be living. I mean, you're probably already taking on debts to go to business school, whether to fund your tuition or cost of living or both. But I would also say that regardless, you should still try to experience some of the things. Go on trips with your classmates or go to free games even if you have no plans to go for the actual party, show up for the pre-game,
Exactly. That's a
enjoy the
hack.
pre-game. It's a hack. You may not go for the
That's a
party,
big hack.
go
Yep.
for the
Yep.
pre-game, then go back home. They will not know you did not show up for the party.
Exactly. Do your
They will
Irish
not know.
goodbye, but let them see
Yeah.
your pregame.
I think in my first year, I did a lot more activities than the second year. I think second year was consumed mostly by ABC responsibilities.
Hmm.
But I showed up a lot in my first year for things that in the second year, people didn't notice as much. I still showed up for a couple of things, but it was not like this guy, we don't see him. Because in the first year, at least, I'll show up for the pregame. I may not go for the party, but the pregame, you will see me there and whatnot. But it's not a 2 year vacation, but it's also a vacation of some sort. You don't have you have school deadlines, but you don't have there's no KPI as
Because
such
it's
that
gonna
you're
die. Yeah.
chasing.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to
Yeah.
die. So yeah, I think you make of it what you will. I won't take 2 year vacation for international students because of recruiting. The locals can afford to push recruiting further down the road. You can't because you don't want to become an illegal. Not
Yeah.
back in the day, especially not now.
Especially in London. Yeah. 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 And the only thing I'm gonna say to that is Demilade said he was more available in the second year. I mean, he was
First year.
more available in the first year than in the second year. Usually that's opposite for most people. But Demilade is really special. He was one of the few people that got a full-time job before he even stepped his foot on campus. So he didn't have to
As did
recruit
you.
when everybody else. We are talking about you here,
As
okay?
did you.
Yeah. But yeah, thankfully so, thankfully so. So yeah, so we both didn't have to recruit in the first year. So we probably had a bit of an unusual first year experience, which means we didn't have to recruit. So we had more time to focus on everything else that matters to you. And like Demilade said, the 2 years is what you make of it. Most people are busy at the first year because that's when they're recruiting, trying to get through the core courses and things like that. Second year is mostly just like your GPA or whatever, if you care about that, is what it is. You get to choose what you need to do. And like Demilade said, yeah, there are deadlines, but you get to choose what's important and nobody's gonna die. It's not like when you're working that you have to do stuff unless you're gonna be out of the job. So important context. Thanks for sharing. Well, Demilade, I was gonna ask one question, which is essentially building connections, right? Networking. That's something that internationals struggle with. Like I know that when I was in Nigeria, right, I didn't have to network with anybody to get a job. You see an opening, you apply. If you're competent or qualified, they probably invite you for an interview. You do your interview, you do it well, you get an offer or not, right? In America, it's kind of like the entire opposite, where they probably won't even interview you unless you've spoken to like 40 people. So one from a job perspective, but also from a just settling into the country, meeting people. What was that like for you, learning to network and things like that?
So I'll take the job perspective first. I will say that for the job perspective, I'm the wrong person to speak to about it. And also it's because we both got our offers before and we're still in Nigeria. But based on what I saw my friends did,
Yeah.
networking is important. I have friends who are now working in finance, investment banking, and my friend had a tracker. And if I don't get the numbers wrong, I think before she landed the interview, she had spoken to me, I think almost 100 people.
Wow.
maybe, yeah, I think it's almost 100 people. She had like an Excel tracker. A friend who also like the amount of people, like every time I'm seeing him, and we're pretty close. Like he was my closest
Mm-hmm.
friend in the MBA program.
Yeah.
And he's telling me of one new person he needs to have a coffee chat with. And so you have to get on it very early.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not something you leave to later. I mean, when you get to school, the school can tell you that, you know what, you are not recruiting doesn't start until October. We've told the firms not to reach out. That's fine. But while the firms can't reach out to you, you can reach out to people in the
Yep.
firms you have
Yep.
as target, or you can even wait till when the firms are starting, but you can start compiling your lead. It's critically important. It's very, very important. I think you also need to look at it from this perspective. There, for instance, in my program, we were 900, yeah, about 938 students in my class, and that's one MBA program in the year. Yes, the largest, but there are a lot more MBA programs. So they need disqualifiers of some sort. It may not make
Yeah.
sense. The disqualifiers may not make sense, but
Yeah.
they need disqualifiers because they cannot
For
interview
to
everybody that
yeah,
wants
give
to
everyone a job.
finance.
Yeah.
And so the way you stand out is if you have multiple touch points and make each touch point memorable, and if the same set of people are vouching for you, I'm assuming this is what happened on the back end, and
Yeah.
they are vouching for you, then of course then they will progress you to interview. So it's important. Then in terms of daily life networking, to be honest, I was also not very keen on networking when I went to business school, and that's just a personal Demilade thing. Um, I met people, I interacted, but I was not actively networking. I genuinely liked the people I became friends with. I like people in my section. I think with networking, we also put a lot of pressure on ourselves to say, oh, I need to
Yes.
network. It needs to be this way. It needs to be that way. I think, y- at least the way I viewed it, is just be a jolly good fellow if you can. You don't need to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
you can't have 30 minutes conversation with everybody in your program. There are some
Mm.
you should, but there are some when you go for those pre-games, you're having like the 10 minutes gist. And the
Mm.
impression they have of you from there is all you need, and you use it
Mm.
later. So you cannot
Yeah.
sit down and have coffee chats with everybody. You're just going to
Everyone.
die.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
then become a chore rather than something you should
Exactly.
enjoy. But if you are just be friendly enough, say hello to people. Like if someone walks past you, you've seen the face before, you've not even seen the face, but you know them. Just say hello, hi, smile,
Yeah.
wave.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
It's those simple things. Because if you're trying to do 30 minutes for now, like there are people in my class that I'm just getting to know now that we have graduated. Like I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
once I see the
You were in
LinkedIn
my
post,
class.
I'm like,
Mm.
oh, we're in school together because it's
Exactly.
938 people. There's
Yeah.
no way you will know
Mm.
all of them. But
Yeah.
just be yourself, just be a decent person, and I think that's going to be my advice.
Yeah. And I think that's fabulous advice, right? Like you said, you don't want to make a chore out of it such that you're not making any memorable conversation with anyone. I mean, the business school is more like a marketplace, right? You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
be best friends with everyone, and you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't try to be best friends with everyone, but you're going to find your own people,
Yep.
and you're going to like build weak ties with as many people as you can. And honestly, for the most part, the people, at least that's what I've heard from people who graduated 5, 6 years ago, a lot of people who will end up being your lifelong friends might not even be folks who are very close to at school.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a high stress environment, and you don't want to make networking a chore. Like make it as organic as possible. Obviously, be friendly, like Demilade said, and be open minded, but also just enjoy it. Connect with the people you connect with. Those you don't connect with, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I have two more questions for you before I let you go. One, Demilade, is I mean, when we were applying to business school, the US economy and the economy of most of the first world countries was a bit shaky, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. Same thing with immigration. Immigration wasn't in the best place, but I think it's more complex now. It's a bit more stringent and things like that, right? If the conditions that existed now existed then, how would they have impacted on your decision?
I think as my own interesting. Okay. I will add to that question to say if I did not have
Okay,
the Canadian PR, because I already had the
okay,
Canadian
okay,
PR before school. So if these conditions exist, the conditions now exist, then I still had the Canadian PR, I'll still have gone to school.
okay.
But if I did not have the PR at the time, I think I might have reconsidered and pushed it further. But I think the flip side to that was also that because I went to school a bit on the older side of the class, so I might have still gone ahead because I'm like, I've pushed it too
For so
far out
long.
already. But like if I was younger and all of this madness is happening, I would still
Mm.
apply. I would still, but I would not, I would wait to see, okay, I got the admission, okay, I've gotten a visa before I resign from my job because yeah, it's a very dicey time. And for me, it's more the immigration than even the economy. The world's economy is not great right now, but I'm hoping and trusting that now that they've released people like Ayo into the world, they will go and, make those, help those businesses.
Businesses, yes.
But I think it's more the immigration thing, especially if you're thinking of staying back. Because, yeah, and it's not just the US that is tightening immigration. Even Canada that I'm at now is tightening everywhere. Even across Europe as well, you're
Europe, yeah.
seeing that happen as well. But I would say I probably will still try it out, but have like safety, like plan B. Okay,
Please, yeah.
let's see what happens. If I got admission to the grade school, got good funding, I will go, but maybe have plans to go back to the continent just in case. So if I'm doing consulting, for instance, okay, say, okay, McKinsey Lagos, where I'm coming back. Because also there are people that even back in the day that went to the US and also went back home
Willfully. Yes, yes,
willfully as
yes.
well. So it may not be my preferred option, but yeah, I think I will still do it because to be honest, you only do this MBA once. You only get an MBA from
Once.
a great school like HBS, like Duke once. And once you have it for life. And so while there are risks, I would just try to mitigate my own risks personally and then probably
Exactly.
still go for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like Demilade said, right, there's nothing. Every great thing involves some risk, right? You just want to be taking calculated and intelligent risks, right? Which is kind of the purpose of that question is to make folks that are not yet in the US aware that the immigration and economic landscape is a bit different and more stringent, more difficult now. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Obviously, we're not immigration advisors or economic advisors, but just be aware and take calculated risks, right? And then my final question to you, David, tell me something about Harvard that you found out on your own. It was not from any ranking or any article or on the website, something you discovered about HBS or Harvard College that you found out yourself. It might be a place you discovered, it might be a restaurant, it might whatever, something you have to be at Harvard to discover.
I mean, I don't know if you have to be at Harvard to discover this,
Okay.
but I was already at Harvard before I discovered it. There's a at Harvard Yard, that's on on the campus of the college. There is the statue of John Harvard, and he has like a golden. There, like there's is it a golden shoe, and people would usually go
Mhm.
there and touch this shoe for good luck. And I saw a
Wow.
video after we got to school that said that actually that statue is not John Harvard. Like they wanted a statue of John Harvard, but at the time nobody had a picture of him, and the sculptor was around Harvard Yard and saw someone and he says, "You look like an Harvard man," and use that
Interesting.
person.
Interesting.
So they don't know what they don't have the name, but like they wanted something to depict John Harvard, and I was like, that's pretty
Interesting.
interesting.
Point
So
of contact. I like that.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
so you look like an
Interesting.
Harvard man. So that's something. That was an interesting thing because everybody, "Ah, John Harvard, okay, he's not. Well,
Wow.
we'll still take him as he's an Harvard man. So
Right. Right. Interesting. I wonder what an Harvard man looks like. I know Dame Ladi looks like an Harvard man for
I
sure.
don't.
I wonder if I look like an Harvard man. Dame Ladi, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking so honestly about your experience. I think this is going to be useful for applicants for the class of 2028 and beyond. And just final question, if people were to want to just reach out to you, connect, where should they find you?
LinkedIn.
At Demilade Oresanya on LinkedIn. Okay. Thank you so much again for coming on the show, Demilade.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you on Slack
Yes, see,
in a couple of
actually,
weeks.
yeah, because we resume in a couple of weeks, right? Good luck to us.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Business 101 podcast. See you on another episode.
Bye.
Bye.